Welcome to #Value, the show where we fix the formula behind founder finance. I'm Davies, founder of Edition Finance, an ex-fractional CFO. And today I'm joined by Harry Jarman, who's the founder of Outbox. Really exciting startup. Can't wait to get into this conversation. Really great product. And so, yeah, let's get into it. Harry, it'd be great if you could give us a quick intro, quick sort of 60-second breakdown, who you are, what your company does, what your product does, and what problem you're solving.
Okay, it stems really from me being a cyclist in London and commuting into work every day and having issues with where I stored my bike or bikes. And as with a lot of people, I ended up putting them in my hallway or in a room in the house because I didn't want to get them nicked. And I thought at the time, why not sort of put them underground? Because I had this rather useless space outside the front of my house in a terrace, typical London terrace. So that's what brought me around to thinking about underground storage, plastic underground storage. So one of my first questions, I was thinking, well, okay, I've got to dig a hole. Who knows about digging holes and what kind of size is it? So I actually went to some grave diggers and asked them, well, how long does it take to dig a hole? And anyway, they were telling me, and I thought, well, that's all right then, so that's not going to cost too much. But of course, it's a lot more complicated than that, and it has been a bit of a voyage of discovery. But so I set up Outbox Storage Limited, and we are developing the first underground bicycle storage to market in the UK.
Amazing. And actually having lived in London, have lots of bikes stolen, I definitely see experience the problem there, to be honest with you. And you're right. The options are generally put it in your house, get a big heavy lock and sort of lock it to something in your front yard or something. But even then they manage to cut through those things, don't they? So
yeah, I had a chap speaking to me not so long ago, and literally the night before I spoke to him, he had 15 grand's worth of bikes stolen. And so we had quite a good conversation about how I might be able to solve that. There are two avenues that I'm exploring. One is the B2C, so it's independent, private customers, and that's what you might describe as retrofit. So you're installing it in an existing building or outside an existing building. I have to admit, I'd probably approached it somewhat naively, thinking, just dig a hole in the ground and plonk this thing in. But it is more complex than that, but not insurmountable. I am entirely bootstrapped, so it has been quite an expensive exercise, but working with the team in Pakistan, it's become a bit cheaper. I have an advisor, part-time advisor chap. He's a product engineer, very experienced. Worked for Dyson, worked for McLaren Automotive, based in the UK. So he's kind of my filter. He's my eyes and ears. And if he needs to speak technically to the guys in Pakistan, that he's able to filter out the rubbish and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I feel fairly confident in what they've done so far. What we're doing at the moment is we're potentially pivoting to further developing the product in the UK and potentially get some local government grants. We would do a feasibility study. So they would further develop the product and work out if it was going to be worth developing it and building it in this country.
Very, very cool. A really good product, to be honest, Harry. Can't wait to see it, to be honest with you, and see it out there in the world.
Thank you.
So on that basis, actually, and you mentioned your bootstrapping. How are you getting on with that? I suppose, is that going to plan? So you originally, bootstrap, decided you're going to fund it yourself. I guess you set a budget, did you, for product development or something, for getting the business live and out there, or did you not? How's that going?
I have to admit, I've probably not been that disciplined, and I should have been. But working at this level where I can't really afford to throw money at things. I've had to find cheaper solutions, and perhaps solutions that take a bit longer to which is a bit frustrating because you just want to get on and do it and finish it. And I've had to work with people who are perhaps they've got other things going on, and when they've got the time, they give it to me, and I'm paying them, but I'm obviously not paying them market rate.
Market rate. So, and are you having to incentivize anyone with equity or anything at the moment?
Yeah. So it's something I'm actually in discussions with at the moment. So I've got my product engineer, who was kind of the first person I took on, and I pay him a small retainer, and he is on the end of the phone, email, WhatsApp, to discuss things. He'll look over the designs, and he will speak directly to the guys in Pakistan at the moment.
Okay.
And so, and he knows what I want to do. He knows my vision. And at the moment, he's got milestone-based vesting. It has taken longer than we thought it would to get there.
How much longer? How would you say, Harry?
I would probably say a couple of years longer.
Yeah.
We went down a few blind alleys exploring. For example, the box, we looked at doing it as rotomold. The intention was to make it light enough so that you wouldn't need a crane to deliver it to site. Obviously, cranes and lorries and what have you are expensive, and if we could manhandle it into the back of a van and then deliver, then that makes it a lot easier. It is a bit of a journey, and it's taken me longer than I thought it would. Yeah. But we are slowly getting there. I just wish it was moving forward a bit quicker.
Do you think if you look back now, so you bootstrapped to date, do you feel like if you'd raised a pre-seed round or something, let's say 250K or something like that, under SEIS, something like that, and you went for it in that way, do you think you'd have been able to go faster?
I think definitely, yeah, because I would have a team of designers. I probably would have pivoted to UK-based R&D again and got a team in, and it would be moving forwards a lot more quickly, more efficiently.
You think it would?
Yeah, I think so. The problem is that it's a bit chicken and egg, because people want to see traction, and right. But I need the money to kind of prove traction. I need to build it. It's not a piece of software that you can spend the night updating and then ask somebody to try it out. This is a physical product that is likely to cost, by the time you've installed it, in the region of about 10 grand. And so you need to do survey to check the ground where it's going to be if you're retrofitting.
I guess it's difficult to say, run a pilot or, get some early revenue, because without the product, you can't really do it, can you, in your case?
Well, I on my website, I recently updated my website, and I've created a sort of waitlist button, and I've already got about 300 inquiries, both in this country and abroad, United States, Canada, Australia, Europe, so it's definitely something that piques people's interest, and the issue of security and where to put your bikes, and that's only going to increase as the government pushes cars out of cities. So people will seek an alternative.
Yeah, well, that's good that you've got. So there is some interest. Did you try and raise, Harry? Did you get out then?
I am trying to raise, yes. It's this thing of traction, though. It's kind of people want to see that, they want to see it in the ground, and that's the frustrating thing, is because I have this working prototype in Pakistan, and I'm trying to get it back to the UK.
Yeah. That's the beauty of a startup, isn't it?
Yeah, I think also, just winding back a bit, I do get inquiries from developers, and so I'm looking to appeal to architects, property developers, and landlords, corporate landlords.
Yeah.
Because certainly with the developers, they know what's in the ground generally, and they're happy with the product. They will keep ordering it, because they'll have new developments. They'll say, "All right, well, we don't just want one, we want 20."
Yeah.
And that's what makes that so attractive. But it's a much longer game.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the traction conundrum, isn't it? Really. I mean, how much do you think you're looking to raise? So let's say if you could raise now.
Well,
Harry,
initially I was looking for 350k to get the product further developed, tested, also most importantly certified, because there are certain security certifications. So
absolutely. Have you looked at, have you thought about crowdfunding or Kickstarter type fundraising? Because for me, this sort of product, which is very much, say, London centric for now, it's very consumer led. Those sorts of products do work quite well on things like Kickstarter and, Seeders, Crowdcube, for example, where, people either invest because they love the idea or they buy ahead. I'll buy the thing now.
I suppose, yes. I suppose you're sort of delving into their emotional response. They think, "Oh, that's a fantastic idea," and I do get that. I get people, who contact me and say, "Oh, this is great," and why has nobody done this before? And da 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 da. And it's lovely to get those responses.
Yeah, and is that something you've explored? Have you reached out to any of those platforms, Harry?
I have, yes. I've spoken to Crowdcube, and it is certainly on my radar, and is something that I would consider doing. But this new chap I'm talking to, he's got a few other funding avenues that he's thinking of, and also I've got this potential grant funding from regional councils, which if I get that, then it will put me in a much more powerful position, because we will then have a product that's a lot closer to launch.
Yes.
Is further developed.
Yeah, it does seem like that would be a good avenue to go down in terms of fundraising for a product like, I have to say.
Yeah, so yes, definitely Crowdcube is one that I've spoken to. I know there's Indiegogo and Kickstarter as well.
It's Seeders as well. I don't know if you come across Seeders. Seeders is...
I would say, though, that historically, when I first approached some of these some time ago, they said, "Oh, well, you need to have initial investment. So you need to already have somebody who's invested in your business."
An anchor. Yeah, often on the crowdfunding sites, I would say they're great. The only thing I would say, and a lot of startups come to us to say, I'm going to go on Seeders or on Crowdcube, which are great brands, or crowdfunding platforms. We always say, yeah, that's really good and it's a great platform, but only use it for a top up. To sort of complete the round, to close the round. Like you said, when you actually engage with those platforms, they often say you need to bring a lead investor. Ideally, when we put you on the platform, you should be sort of 70% funded or something, and then we'll top up the remaining 30%. So that's where you get success. So it works really well for that sort of stuff. And of course, it is also very good for marketing and awareness too, right? So it gets your product in front of your customers investing. They'll tell their friends and family, "I invested in this company called Outbox," and so on. And so you get a bit of a bump from that.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is getting that first tranche of money in, that first investment. Because I believe as soon, because I do get quite a few inquiries. I'm signed up to an angel network, and I do angel outreach as well. I get lists in and go through them and approach people. And I do get interest. Typically a lot of it's like, great, really interesting, keep in touch and come back to us when you're at the next stage, which is a bit frustrating. But I think also, if I can say to them, yes, I've got my first investment in or whatever, then I think that should hopefully open the gates a bit more to, I've had a few people who approach me and who want to help me find funding. but then they want to charge in some cases, $30,000 up front as a sort of upfront fee, and then a percentage of anything that they get for you. And you think, whoa, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, definitely. You see that a lot. People wanting to charge up front to help you find investors, which you thought if they really backed themselves, they would just charge a success fee and nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, the reality is that at this stage, angel investor stage, early stage, pre-revenue stage, it's very challenging to find angel investors because it's not like going to an institution or bank where the capital is just there, ready to go, and then invest in something which is doing X amount of turnover or X amount of EBITDA, sort of formulaic sort of lending, or even sort of equity investing as well when it comes to private equity. But at the startup stage, it's very much personalities. Do they really like this product? Do they like you? Have they actually got any cash right now, or is it all tied up in something else? And so it's not quite as straightforward. And so lots of people simplify and say, yeah, we've got a huge network of angels and they've got capital ready to deploy, but it's not always the case.
Well, I'm assuming that they probably do a scattergun approach and they go out to so many startups, and a small percentage probably say, I'll pay that money up front.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one is going out to family offices, and there are companies there that will, again, for a fee, you can go out. I think it's all legitimate, but obviously it's an upfront fee to get in front of family offices at these events that they organize, where I assume there are ultra high net worth individuals that you can try and get your products in front of.
Yeah, we've actually done a few clients over the years where we've gone to high net worth lunches and things, but you have to pay for it. So the client pays up front for the lunch, for the venue hire, for all that sort of stuff. And the organizer then brings a bunch of family offices. I have seen that work. Before, and then the organizer takes the success fee. That sort of thing has worked before, but it's not as the best approach for me is at this stage is like friends and family, going to people ask them to put 20 grand in under SCIS, and finding 10 of those sorts of people, your friends and family, really, to do that initial round, then get the traction, prove it out, and then if anything, you end up getting, if it all goes to plan, investors approaching you and saying, can we chat, because I've seen you've got some good traction, and can we chat about coming in?
I think the most positive reactions I've had have actually been through physical networking events.
Yeah.
Where I meet these people, I'm able to talk to them, and and that has generated quite a lot of interest, where there have been, further inquiries, further discussions, and unfortunately so far it's not, I haven't sealed the deal, which is a bit frustrating, but you think, well, if I kiss enough frogs, eventually somebody will come along.
Yeah, of course. And have you got SEIS advanced insurance?
Yes, I got SEIS, EIS all set up. Yeah. So
okay, so that's all ready to go.
Yeah.
And in terms of funding as well, have you explored? And I don't know whether you qualify or not, to be honest with you, but R&D tax credits. Have you?
I have, yes, and that was part of the reason I signed up to Seed Legals, and I thought, great, they can do my tax credits. But I very quickly discovered that because I'm not a big pharmaceutical company spending millions, the maths just doesn't work out, because they charge you X £1,000 to do the
claim.
And I did end up speaking to 2 or 3 different companies, and they said, we don't think it's worth your while. And sure enough, because my investment is
Minimum.
tens of thousands rather than 2 or 3 million, it just doesn't work. It's just not. By the time they've taken their fees, there's nothing left.
There's nothing left. Yeah, it's good for the firm doing the R&D tax credit, because that's they get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's not worth it for you in the end. I understand that, and we do that with some clients too. We get clients come and say, I want to do a claim, but they've only spent sort of 20 grand or something.
Yeah.
Invested 20 grand in R&D, and you sort of like, well, actually, it's probably not worth it, you know.
Yeah.
And not all of that 20 grand would qualify as R&D.
No,
It's
of
not all,
course. No.
allocated to the project. So that you end up then, it's not really worthwhile. But there are some, I believe there are some sort of off the shelf platforms. Now there used to be one I think called Claimer, which used to charge a small fixed fee, and you could do it yourself, and it was like form based, and you could just do the whole thing by
Well,
yourself and pay them a couple £100. I think there are some of those out there. It's just worth exploring, because you might be able to do it yourself, and then it is probably worthwhile.
okay. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, rather than using an advisor, because it's a small claim, it's worth taking the punt on doing it yourself, because what's the worst thing that happened? HMRC say no.
Yeah. I have also been, I signed up to one of these European-wide platforms, EIT, I think it's called, and it's a sort of network of startups, investors, but also government initiatives promoting sustainability, renewable, all that kind of stuff. And my product kind of ticks the boxes because it's encouraging people out of their cars onto bicycles. It's removing barriers to cycle ownership, and so I tick those boxes, and it's a platform that and they produce these opportunities. I've applied to a couple so far, but it is a lot. It's a lot of paperwork, and it's quite time consuming to do it.
Well, thanks for that, Harry. It was really, really great. I hope you have any questions for me. I'm happy to take those. But thanks for sharing all the details about the business. That was
No, pleasure.
fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Anything you want?
Oh, well, you know what, I'll probably think about it as soon as we come off the call, but I think you've kind of gone through most of the things that
Yeah,
I was thinking of.
but it would say, I'd say my in terms of fundraising anyway, based on everything that you've said, I think obviously the best thing to do is, as probably as investors have told you as well, just get one or two out there, in the world. One
Yeah,
or two.
yeah,
Just
it's
one.
that chicken and egg thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
You
that's it.
need that to get the funding, but then in some respects, you need the funding to get that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you could get someone in your friends and family network or something under SEIS
Mm.
to give you, if you had four of them give you 5 grand or something,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's 20 grand.
true.
They get half of it back via SEIS anyway. You can.
Well,
That's
if the grants come through from the local councils up in Nottingham, we will be able to test some in the ground and get the product to a much a higher level of readiness. And I will shoot videos and what have you of it and post them so that people can see a real product.
Yeah, fantastic. And then, yeah, absolutely. I would say there aren't that many businesses where I say use crowdfunding, like Crowdcube, Seeders, etc.
Yeah.
But this business, I think 100%, crowdfunding would work really well.
Yes.
Because the product is those people, you're selling directly to those people that are going to invest in it.
Yeah, yeah.
They use it. I think if you look at the profile of Crowdcube investors, they're probably, I actually haven't seen the data, but I'm guessing now. But I imagine it's probably a lot of young professionals in big cities, that are investing a few £100 here and there on these platforms. That's your customer, isn't it? Really?
Yes, absolutely. And cities are filling up with cyclists because more and more people are doing that. So the more people are, there are a lot more bikes out there than there used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing everything. Great business, great product, and looking forward to seeing it out there.